Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am Tom Downey, taking a look at some trade candidates for the Cincinnati Bengals. If the season continues to head in the wrong direction, the Bengals would owe it to themselves as an organization to at least see what some potential non-long-term pieces could fetch you. Now, when I say non-long-term, I basically mean probably wouldn't be on the team next year, or at least might not be on the team next year. NFL turnover rate is incredibly high. Long-term is like 2 or 3 years from now. As unusual as that might sound, the Bengals, even if they bottom out this year, they'll be back in contention again next year. So you're not going to trade away Jamar Chase or something crazy. It only would be players who maybe it won't have on your team next year. We'll break down 5 candidates, but first, whoever comments the most individually on today's show will get a shout out on a future Bengals breakdown video. So simply flood the comment section with your me's. You want them all in individual comments. That's how we can do the math on it. Type those me's right now. You probably knew what player would be first on this list. That is wide receiver Tee Higgins. Higgins is a very good football player despite the rib injury and inconsistent play this year. And that is why whenever he gets a new deal, it's going to be expensive. The contracts continue to rise across the NFL outside of running back because the salary cap continues to rise every year. I'm not saying Higgins is going to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, but he should and probably can command at minimum those Debo McLaurin deals, the DK Metcalf. Those were signed several years ago. And although he's been poor this year, Tee Higgins has been a pretty consistent 1,000-yard receiver over the course of his NFL career. So you have a really good football player who's due a lot of money. And because you have paid Joe Burrow, and you're going to pay Jamar Chase, and you're going to have other deals coming down the pipeline, you've paid Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, and B.J. Hill, Hendrickson, et cetera, the reporting has been the Bengals don't view Higgins as a long-term piece. And they might not even franchise tag him next year. Well, if the season bottoms out and you don't want to try to tag and trade him next year, then trading him before this year's trade deadline actually does make a lot of sense. Now, the issue you're going to run into here is the teams that could really use a receiver, the Giants, the Panthers, et cetera, aren't going to trade their first because they can't afford to trade away or don't have a top 10 pick to move on from. They're not going to give that up for Higgins. So my trade idea here for Higgins as it relates to the Panthers, and it's the rough value, a second-round pick, that's going to be a premium pick. You know, that's going to be somewhere in the most likely, I'd say, 30s, early 40s, and a conditional 2025 pick tied to what the Panthers do with Tee Higgins in terms of do they pay him, do they not pay him, could be as high as another second or a third or, playoff base as well. So you get 2 premium picks for a player, and you probably spend one of those on a wide receiver to help replace Higgins, or maybe you give Andre Yoshivas a chance. So should the Bengals trade Tee Higgins? I understand most of you are probably going to say, no, I get it. I would rather pay him. I'm unconvinced this Bengals franchise will go that route. It is the pinned comment on today's show, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, type in Y for yes, N for no. The other wide receiver we have to mention is Tyler Boyd. Now, Boyd, make no mistake, is not going to carry the same value that Higgins does. And in fact, short term, his contract is a little bit more complicated to potentially move on from. Now, the number you see there, $8.9 million, that's the total number this year. It's not really $8.9 million. It's whatever game checks and roster bonuses, et cetera, are left over the course of the season. So it's really 9 divided by, 17 times however many games are left. So rough, just do the easy math, half, maybe $4.5 million. Not the worst, $5 million, but that's still a decent amount of money to keep in mind. Now, Boyd's numbers this year have dropped. Again, that's true for every single player on the Bengals offense outside of maybe Joe Mixon from an average perspective, because the Bengals offense has been a bit of a mess so far. And you could maybe get a little bit more back in a trade if you ate the money you would save by saving Boyd. But the salary cap savings are actually significant for Cincinnati with the way they choose to run their business. Because remember, you roll over whatever money you don't end up spending. So I'm going to trade him. The Chiefs would love him. I cannot trade him to the Chiefs for the Bills. I refuse to do it. The Eagles, I'll trade him to an NFC team. And now that offense is A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Tyler Boyd. Good for Philly. 6th-round pick. I know it's not much, but you do save a decent amount of money as well. More trade candidates to come, but what if there was an app that used AI and machine learning to suggest smart sports bets? Well, there is. It's called Odds Are. It's the mobile app you need to know what bets of the day are the smart ones. There's so many bets that you could take. Figuring out which ones are actually good make it a little bit complicated. It's a very simple app to use. If you see green, those are the smart bets. If you see yellow, it's a decent one. Kind of trust your gut on that one. If you see red, avoid it. It means it's not an obvious hit. You see a couple over-unders on there for this week's slate of games, by the way. A lot of red. Just avoid the red. Those are not trustworthy games to go with. And you guys get a special deal. Get your first 30 days of the app for free. Go to oddsr.com/NFL Daily to download the app. That's oddsr.com/NFL Daily for 30 days of smarter betting for free. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's head to defense now. DJ Reader, who I have long been a big fan of. And again, if you're trading away these caliber of players because you don't think they're going to be on your team next year or maybe 2 years from now, whatever, you are really punting on this season because you don't have the depth along the defensive line. Reader's due $11.6 million in the final year of his contract. You would save, again, just rough estimate, half of it-ish, $6 million what you'd save. New team would owe that. Doable for a team if they're in the market for an elite run-stopping defensive tackle. His numbers do not pop off the screen, but anyone who's watched, Bengals or Texans football back when he was with the Texans, Reader is an impact football player. He makes life tough on opposing ground games, although hasn't been consistent in parts this year. I would be very concerned about your front players if you were to trade away DJ Reader. B.J. Hill, Zachary Carter's not a great run stopper. Josh Pugh, I think, has taken a step back as well along the defensive line depth chart. You'd probably promote Dominique Davis from the practice squad, and you're trading away these veteran players to help see what some of your young guys would be able to do. I actually think Reader should be pretty highly valued in the NFL. So a bit of a more premium draft pick here. How about a 4th-round selection? The Miami Dolphins are all in right now. They have a great offense. The defense has issues. DJ Reader replacing Raekwon Davis or helping him out as a run stopper would go a long way for Miami. Now, historically speaking, the Bengals do not make in-season trades. They don't make very many trades, period. So will they make one this year, whether adding, trading away, whatever? Get your predictions in. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Offensive line, Jonah Williams. He was subject to so many trade rumors. You guys remember that? In the draft time, after he demanded a trade because he was mad he didn't get told he was getting switched over to the right side. The money is a problem here. The 5th-year option is worth $12.6 million. I don't think there was any team that was really in the market for that type of contract. The Jets could have still been an option if Aaron Rodgers hadn't gone down for the year. But even if you trade him around October, you're staring at the barrel of $6 million a new team owes. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Williams has not been bad this year on the right side. And I think this statistic, 2 sacks, 2 hits, only 4 hurries, when you're allowing a sack at about 25% of your pressures, that's abnormally high. It's also the indication your quarterback can't move back there right now. The biggest issue I have with trading Williams, not you probably won't get a ton back or the money savings or whatever, it's who do you play at right tackle? In theory, even if you trade away some pieces, you'll have Joe Burrow back healthy and you'll still be trying to win some football games, right? Do we trust Deontay Smith to play right tackle? We're not playing Jackson Carman. I'm done on that road. By the way, Jackson Carman's not on this list because nobody wants him. If anyone wants him, half a ham sandwich is the current asking price for Jackson Carman. Deontay, I don't even like ham that much. Deontay Smith, maybe give him a shot, but you also don't want to get your quarterback hurt even worse than he already is. Trade value-wise, a 5th. Packers have lost David Bakhtiari. They're playing Rasheed Walker. I don't think he's that great at left tackle. I kind of like Zach Tom a little bit on the right side. So 5th-round pick for a contending team. Actually, it might be somewhat fair. So what should the Bengals be at this year's NFL trade deadline? Your 3 options. They're buyers, type in B. They're sellers, type in S. Or they're going to hold their pieces, type in H for a hold. We are getting closer and closer to 5,000 subscribers here on Bengals Breakdown. Help us continue to grow. YouTube.com/Bengals TV for more free Bengals videos all season long. Finally, cornerback Chidobe Awuzie on this list. Again, there's a theme with all of these guys. They're entering the final year of their contracts. You can trade them away now, get a quicker draft pick, probably a similar or better one than what you might be able to get hypothetically in the comp pick process. He's due $6.65 million total money this year. It's actually not that bad. It's actually fairly cheap. That actually, I think, does carry some value. Although Awuzie has not been as good this season. Only targeted 7 times, which, indicates, hey, teams are not throwing his way because they respect him. They're looking elsewhere. But has gotten beat a little bit, touchdown allowed. But he's a good football player. I like Chido a lot. You probably wouldn't do it this week. Not that you, well, it's also already Thursday, so you're not going to do this week. But next week, if Cam Britt's healthy, DJ Turner, I think long-term is your replacement for Chidobe Awuzie. Just like how Daxton Hill was your Jesse Bates replacement, I'd probably say Turner is your Awuzie replacement there. And corners are valuable. I think a 4th-round pick is not out of the realm of consideration. The Chargers traded away J.C. Jackson, who they paid big money to and has been bad, and they need cornerback help. They are trying to get to the playoffs, or that regime might get fired. Chargers are a bit more desperate right now than the Bengals are because their head coach hasn't made it to Super Bowl, hasn't done anything in the playoffs. Their GM hasn't either. So you might be able to get a premium pick for a player like Awuzie.